Hey guys, before you get started with the next episode of the podcast, I wanted to preface I didn't think ahead, and it looks like I ran a little bit of ran out of memory right as I was recording some of this interview, so I did lose a bit of it at the end. But I still got a good interview in with one of my good friends, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. And this is a quick learning lesson for me, kind of make sure to have room to record for everything. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the interview. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode. I almost forgot the number of the Sonrisa Dance podcast, and I have a wonderful person here, my very first guest for the podcast, and it's actually one of my closest friends and somebody who I feel like I want to give the biggest credit for teaching me the most in the dance community.
Ooh,
really,
biggest credit.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
I knew Nick back when he had the crazy long hair.
Oh yeah,
almost the He-Man haircut that kind of flipped out.
Yeah, I need to show that a lot more, just so people, for anyone who only knows me now, like.
What you see now was not.
In fact, right here, like for what I'm editing, like there's a photo of me when I had long hair. Fuck it. But yeah, so for people who don't know you who are watching this, like give a quick rundown of like who you are and like what you do in the dance space, I guess.
Oh God, where do I start? That's a long story.
Yeah.
That spans out to about almost 20 years now.
Which is fine. Like
I don't think I've ever said that out loud. It's just weird.
I actually, even personally, I don't think I knew you've been dancing for 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. So I started at Cal State Long Beach. Like everyone else that was in that area, that group of dancers and teachers and club promoters. It was a social dance class. Phil Martin.
Yeah.
So started there. Obviously met a few people. I thought I was way better than what I really was. I was actually horrible. And then just kind of going in and out of the classes and just kind of jumping into the club, being in like that little corner of where all the beginners go.
Yeah.
that where it's like that beginner jail. And then fast forward a few years later, I ended up joining a club on campus that did nothing but Red Dead Casino.
Mm-hmm.
The person who was running that ended up becoming a friend / temporary dance partner, and she invited me to do this show for her sister, who had her own dance company, but it was just straight like hip hop and house. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I went ahead, did the show. I trained with them for this one run, and Versatile Dance Company. If you don't know who they are, check them out. They're huge in the hip hop, pop-in, locking, breaking community. They do a lot of stuff in LA. But after the whole run of the show, the director came and handed me an envelope with money, and I was just like, "This is awesome! Like, I get paid for this." And it kind of led to the next steps of joining another dance company, touring nationally, internationally with them, and all that good stuff. Came back. I was trying to be an actor, so I was at the time I was with a theater company, with a dance company, and in between auditioning for commercials and stuff, I ended up getting thrown teaching a salsa class at MOLA.
Oh, okay.
Should not have been teaching it. It's one thing to dance socially.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing to perform, and then a whole other thing to teach. Which I did the cardinal sin of just jumping in, going, "Oh, I've done this. This is fine." And so I apologize for those first couple students. I know I still know a few of you who remind me that I used to dance cha-cha on one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
But at the long story short, I ended up doing really well. Started my first dance company. Met a lot of wonderful people. And it just blossomed from there. And over the course of my, I guess, dance career, you go through these highs and lows of, you got these hot spots, and then you lay low for a little bit, and then you come back in, and, during some of my lower spots, I ended up meeting my now wife, Jenny, who's sitting there awkwardly on her phone.
Off camera.
Down there.
You can say hi.
There's an act. We then kind of blossomed out and did our own thing, And yeah, and somewhere in between all this, and probably the main reason of how we met was years ago I had gotten approached by Cal State Long Beach, and the club at the time wanted me to donate money, which I was like, I'm a starving artist. If you want me to donate, you want to give you money. But what I ended up doing was I helped with their budget. Linked them with some connections, saved a little bit of money, and then got introduced to the following year's president. 9 years later, I was actually doing the math before I came. Cool. 9 years later, we've been collaborating on a monthly social while they're in session called Latin Motion, and it's still going strong, and it's crazy. But with all that, in between all that, led into me meeting all these different colleges. And actually, at one point, I was traveling from Sacramento to San Diego, literally everywhere in between, teaching, DJing,
you do a lot.
Working with colleges, working with their e-boards to try to help them in whatever ways I can. And it turned into a project about really helping the college community, because it's completely separate from what your regular dance community is. I feel like it's such a vital time of teaching and outreaching to college kids and kind of help building that next generation of dancers.
Yeah, because there's plenty of people who go out dancing and like they learn going out to places like PCH Club and just like random regular weekly clubs, bars, and things like that. But I feel like a lot of people do initially also start when they're in college.
Yeah, college, yeah.
Because it's what do I do to meet a lot of people? I'm new. Maybe they moved into the area recently and they're like, I don't know anybody.
Well, honestly, when I first started taking my first dance classes, I got dragged into it, and then I saw that crazy ratio of 5 girls to every guy, and I'm like, score! This is beautiful. I need to do this. It just so happened I ended up falling in love with culture.
Yeah.
Which is a whole different ballgame.
It's funny, the more and more I talk to certain people, I realize that's a common trend. Even for me, mine, it wasn't for girls. I started because I got invited by a girl that I thought she was really cute in high school, and that's what initially got me to start dancing. But literally after doing it for 2 or 3 times, I was like, I love this. This is fun.
Yeah, right.
And then just escalated over time. But.
Well, it's crazy to think that as an instructor, what I had to learn over the years, and this was the biggest idea, concept that it took me a while to grasp. Why are they coming to me to learn this dance? And every time, it was always the same thing. People don't come to learn how to dance to necessarily learn how to dance. And they say there's major reasons why anyone does anything. It's to make money, weight loss, get over love, find love, and there's a fifth one I can't remember. These are basic marketing principles. But once I understood what the root of why people were there, it definitely gave me an easier chance to connect with them.
Yeah. It's funny, I've never even really, put too much thought into, thinking about, that's why people, I only knew I only have my one perspective of, why I started dancing, but I didn't think of, some people do it for health, and they do it, they start it for health.
Yeah.
And stuff. I didn't even think about that.
And then they get sucked into the whole, I'm going out 7 nights a week, and
we all do that.
And broke, and all that other stuff, so.
Well, that's when you invest, you love it, if you're, willing to do it every single day and not sleep, or, run on 2 hours of sleep a night.
It's crazy. There was back when the King was a big Cuban spot back in the day. I would be out on a Tuesday night, 2:00 in the morning, driving from Long Beach to Hollywood, getting home at 4:00, and then having to go to school the next day. I hated life.
Yeah.
But some of my best and fondest memories were me trying to make this adventure happen, and seeing what actually goes down, and seeing all these people, and just having all these cool experiences.
Yeah, it's fun. I think it's cool, and I feel like one of the things that a lot of people like when they do it long enough is they also like just build a lot of friends, a lot of some maybe more meaningful connections, stuff like that. But I think that's like what kind of like really important when people like really when a community really starts is like when you have like a nice core of like 5 or 6 friends. You're like you're not doing this alone most of the time. When you get that deep into like you're doing it 7 days a week, you're probably going with like a handful of people probably, or that when you show up,
you're gonna see people. You're gonna see people. I mean, but that goes into what it was that last point of we said what was it? People do things for love, money, blah blah blah. Yeah. The last thing is to actually be a part of something.
Yeah,
and being accepted within a community. And a lot of times, and I love my dancers, but a lot of them, we all start socially awkward.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's the problem with a lot of people, and that's not even just like the people who go into dance. I think a lot of people get out of, again, especially focusing on the college scene that we're more involved with, and that's what we did a lot of. They get to like their 20s and they really don't know how to socialize properly.
No.
Like, I mean, shit, like some people haven't even gotten to the point that they even had like their first date yet. Sometimes, like, it's like that, it can be potentially that bad. Like I get it, like basically like just, you're doing this as a learning process and maybe not even intentionally. Like, I think I also understood that I did this and I became a more social person, or I got better at it. Cause I was always social, but I wasn't necessarily good at it.
Well, I felt like when we first met, you were definitely in your niche of the things that you like.
Yeah.
Which was pretty much video games, wrestling.
Yes. I still love all those things.
And even your music selection.
Oh yeah.
Very,
very limited, very tunnel vision.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just like with anything, you try something and you like broaden your horizon. But I think that's what's interesting about dance, because I mean, just like anything, like when you build a good hobby and you start talking to people, like everyone comes from different backgrounds, and that kind of
brings people.
Yeah,
it does bring people together. The one thing that I think I've taken most from this whole experience is the ability to go pretty much anywhere in the world and to be able to communicate through this dance.
Yeah, I think it's a great like introduction to a community. No matter like where you go, if you move, like there's like I remember like I used to think like when I first started, like it was just like a local thing, like because we got a lot of like Latinos here, but I forget there's Latinos everywhere, and then 2, I forget that even if you go to somewhere like Japan or China, there's still a massive community out there for people who are dancing.
I remember my first year going to the LA Salsa Congress, and this was years ago. I asked this Asian woman to dance. I think she was from Japan or something. They used to have a huge group from Japan that came out, and she looked at me like, "What the heck are you saying?" But as soon as we got on the dance floor, like it just clicked. It made sense.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about what we do. It's you don't have to speak the same language.
Yeah.
And you can go anywhere. I mean, I had my opportunity of teaching in Puerto Rico for about a year, and it was a big joke. How does a Mexican American who doesn't speak Spanish come to our country to teach us our own dance? And I had a lot of different students who didn't understand a word of what I said, but we were still able to communicate to the class and what we were doing, and connect on the culture side of why we were there and what we were teaching and stuff. So
yeah, it's funny going into that. It's actually one of the main reasons why I invited you here to like talk to you. Is like that introduction and getting introduced, like even if like the language doesn't matter, that communication, the dance does matter. And I feel like a lot of people go into dance and just like shoot for the stars, and they don't realize you're gonna like be looking at dirt for like a good while. And so I feel the more comfortable people are right now, like touching dirt, like that, like,
okay.
And that's the reason why I personally think, and like honestly, I don't know if I've told you personally, I think you're the best instructor for day one of anybody who teaches anything.
Wow.
And
you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Came out of his mouth. Didn't pay him.
No, he's not paying. In fact, I should be paying him to be here. But anyways, the biggest thing to me is because I feel like the thing that stood out to me the first time I met you, and I remember meeting you at like one time when you were like having an event at the Reef before, I think
The Reef.
Yeah, I know, right?
Take it back.
Right before you got introduced to really helping out like at least Cal State Long Beach and our group, because I was a part of that when you started helping. I think the biggest thing that I like is your initial first class, like the class that you give for the very first day for the at least when I've seen you teach for Cal State Long Beach is vitally important to our community. Like,
Appreciate that.
mostly because you don't just go and you don't just teach the basic. You take the time at the beginning or even throughout the entire class to tell people like there's etiquette, there's things you need to think about, like there's a reason why you don't do X, Y, and Z. Like I don't give a shit if all you do is a basic and one like right turn like through the entire night. If you're like humble and you dance well and you're polite, you ask them, you walk them to the center of the floor, say thank you, and walk them back. Like those are core things that I feel like not enough people are told and like know that this is something that's super important when you go out dancing.
Well, I mean, it goes back to understanding what your audience needs and why they're there. The reason why that came about was the fact that I was that beginner dancer. And I did things that, had I known and been educated by someone, who was there before me, I probably could have avoided some really bad situations.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, when I first started, for years, I would dance off time, and the etiquette thing.
Yeah.
That's what got me through and kept me going, because that's what allowed for more experienced people to be like, okay, he's a nice guy, I'm going to help him out.
Yeah.
Versus, when I was during my generation of learning, it was very machismo. It was very male dominated assholeness that kind of ruled, that cockiness that just took over. So the different approach of like, all right, well, let's go old school. Let's be polite. Let's treat people with respect. And what is that going to do for me? In my experience, is what I'm trying to get out of dance. And I wouldn't be here today doing what I do without understanding early that you don't learn on your own.
Yeah.
And, you can go to hundreds of classes and still not get better.
Yeah.
But if you're an active member of a community, and you might not be the best dancer, but people know you as a nice guy and that you're respectful, you respect the space, those experiences on the dance floor of constantly messing up, stepping on people, you learn how not to do those mistakes.
Yeah.
But there's no real way of preparing for that. I mean, again, you can learn all the patterns, but, real life situations of having people around you and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen unless you can actually get someone on the dance floor.
Yeah. Experience teaches you something.
Experience.
And yeah, like I feel like not enough people are just prepared to be told like, hey, like unless they're friends with somebody, like, hey, you're doing this wrong or whatever. And even just some people don't even care to get better. They just want to look flashy. And I think that's another big problem. Like
I feel like that's a very California thing. And now, I'm going to say that's a very Southern California. I'm not even going to throw out NorCal because, it literally, you can divide California in threes, and it's completely different scenes, different styles, and, but at least for Southern California, where obviously I've been around the most, that's always been a thing, even, 10, 15 years back. Like, it's all about the moves.
Yeah.
I was in Germany on tour, actually military, and a buddy of mine at the time was also stationed out there. And he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take you salsa dancing. I know that's what you like. Let's go check it out." And I'm like, "All right, cool. I got this. Yeah, I'm from LA. Yeah." And showed up to the club, couldn't dance with one single person. And this was before I really understood what the differences with Cuban, LA style, and all the sub-genres of styles on top of styles and variations. And later, what I ended up finding out is they all danced Cuban at the time. And that was the club that we went to.
That's why.
So I'm like, dude, stop moving around. Where's the line? And I was convinced back then, and this is where the inexperience and cockiness comes out, that if you didn't do it like you did in LA, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely does. That feels like a very big LA thing. And, like, I think sometimes, especially if you don't go too far and you still stay in the same style, like, a lot of people, because they look flashy, like, I've heard stories of people, like, go, like, even just, like, something as simple as, like, going from LA to San Diego, and they're like, oh, I can tell if you're from LA because of the way you dance.
Oh, man, it's the worst. That was the worst.
But it's funny, like, I never really thought about it, like, maybe that's not necessarily a compliment. Like, what if, because you're just flashy?
You know what? I think that really comes into tone.
Yeah.
Because you have some people like, oh, you're not from here. You're from LA. And they get excited, which is, it's just
cool.
A cool feeling. And then, you go to East Coast and they're like, oh, you're from LA.
Oh.
Which, they're like, well, what does that mean? Oh,
that's an interesting experience. Yeah, because I've only gone dancing, pretty much only, like, exclusively here, LA, OC, and then only, like, Tucson with group. But that was a festival, so it's like a little more
the West Coast.
It's just the West Coast. I have no experience of like dancing like New York or like or even another country. Like that's an interesting like to like see that's that different thing. And some people don't even think about it. Like, oh yeah, salsa, but LA salsa.
Yeah, I think that was one of the most humbling things was living on the island and going dancing and realizing that there's so much more to the dance that's culturally driven behind it and the music and why people do things. And at the time, it was back in, say, 2009, 2010, where we had that crazy financial crisis.
Oh, yeah.
So being on the island during that time, there's a lot of people who were getting furloughed, who were out of work, losing jobs. And I remember being in one of the La Placitas, and it was a big concert with Sonora Ponceña. And you just see all these people in this community lost their jobs, don't know where, money's going to come, and they're partying it like it's like no one's business. But, and it says a lot about the culture and what salsa music means to these people. And for them, it was definitely a way of dealing with some of the hardships.
Yeah, it was their form of escape for like the terrible life of the circumstances. Just like you can't do anything about it.
No, but they make the best out of it.
Yeah, and
that was one thing that resonated with me. I'm like, okay, this is a whole different side because now it's not just about people going to a class and dancing and doing patterns. It's a way of life for a lot of these people.
Yeah,
which goes even deeper to even the music,
Yeah.
As a non-Spanish speaker,
which I get on here every once in a while
to make it, you hear these songs that sound like, wow, like this is the jams, high energy, and then little did you know they're talking about a hooker, a bum, and a crackhead, and the pimp, kills the hooker, and the pimp ends up landing on his own knife and kills himself, and then the bum picks up the knife, whatever.
Yeah, there's some weird stories, really weird songs that like tell like an entire story.
Different story in which you're like, wow, if I actually knew what they're saying, I don't know if I'd be so happy dancing this.
Yeah, it's funny, even everything I've been dancing in, for a lot of people, especially because a lot of this is Latin music and so it's in Spanish. And whenever I take the time to translate a song to somebody, they're just immediately like, I don't know if I like that song.
Yeah, Pedro Navajas. That's a song that you should dissect by Ruben Blades. That just goes right off the rocker of like, what the hell is he talking about? But and that goes into. This goes for a lot of music, but I think Caribbean culture in general, whether it's bachata, salsa, they really dive into their life stories and they really put it out there in the music.
Yeah, they invest in the culture, and that's why. And I think a lot of people when they go into dancing, they don't really pay attention to that. Again, they just want to be a good dancer.
I'm gonna say it. I'm sorry. I love my LA people, but we're missing the culture.
Yeah,
we are missing the culture, and we have our own culture.
Yeah,
but it's very much surfaced in what the dance is and how they makes them feel. Well, I guess that makes sense to some degree.
I don't believe in forcing anybody to do something just because it's like the better thing to do. I think if you care enough about it, you should do it.
You should.
You should.
You should.
But I think a part of it is also some people, like, whether they're being told by somebody or they've already created like their own like idea of it. Like they're so focused on like, this is the way I want it.
Yeah.
And it has to be this way. And if you really cared enough about it, then you would know that it's not this small. There's like, it's like, there's so many variations.
More.
Yeah. And so I think another thing is like, and it's one of the things I know like it's come up to me recently about seeing a lot of people post things negatively about certain dances, and I don't like I used to just kind of be like, whatever, I don't care. Like, this is coming from somebody who's coming from a perspective that honestly doesn't give a shit about like what this dance is.
Yeah.
And I used to think like, oh, it's not worth like saying or doing anything about it, but I think that needs to kind of stop also. Okay. And in every way, shape, or form. Like I don't believe in telling somebody this is what you should get out of the dance. Like, you get out of the dance whatever the fuck you want out of the dance. Yeah. But I also equally don't believe in telling somebody you shouldn't do this because it's whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
and I think that goes with, if you're gonna have an opinion about a dance. Well, let's just take dance. I mean, this can be very general, but if you have an opinion with the dance, do your research first.
Yeah.
Know where it comes from. Know who starts it. Know, what made that dance what it is. Yeah. And then base an opinion, I mean, it's like, here's a perfect example. Yeah. Merengue music. You're gonna go places. This is I think I see this on social media the most. Yeah. And you see, I'm gonna use the word, you're gonna see these trolls who are talking their smack and who are trying to really stir things up. Yeah. But a lot of people who are commenting on it, if you don't like something, you don't like something. Fine. Yeah. But don't bash it. Yeah. Like, that's what kills me.
Yeah, because I don't think people realize how big of an impact their words have on like influencing somebody to try something new. Like,
I'll tell you what though, give it 3-4 more years, I bet you the same people who are talking trash on it are going to be dancing and loving it like they were doing it from day one.
I know.
That kills me.
Yeah, I mean, even if they don't, like, it doesn't matter. Like that, I feel like they're doing more harm to other people who are actually listening to them, especially if they got a lot of people who like constantly like consume like whatever they're putting out, and I don't think like that's helping our community at all. If you you really cared about something, then at the very least phrase it that I don't like this. Like, it's fine to post and or like just whatever way, shape, or form share that the fact that you don't like a certain thing and you just don't want to give it a chance, and that's on you. Like, that's fine.
If you have a valid reason, though.
Well, I mean, if I don't care. Like,
but if it is a valid reason why you don't like something, okay.
You don't like the music, or you don't like how close.
You know what? Yes, I'm Mexican. I don't like banda music. Yeah. All right. The trumpet kills me, or the big the tuba. Yeah. I just can't do it. But that's
doesn't do it for you.
But that's a specific reason.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I don't like banda because I think it's trash, because that's not fair. I don't know enough about the culture.
Yeah, you're dissing the whole culture, not just the dance.
That's where we're having some issues now with this whole freedom of, I'm just going to put everything out there on Facebook or Instagram or whatever platform they're using, and there's so many times I want to just chime in and I'm like, nope, it's not worth it. Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, and well, I mean, and that's why like I feel like I'm thinking about and probably even starting to like sometimes comment on certain of these things, but I'm doing it in a way to be polite. Like I'm not going to tell this person you're a fucking idiot for posting this, because it's what they think. Sure, but I want people to, if they're going to see that, then I want them to see underneath that, hey, like this is if you actually like this thing, don't feel bad for liking it. Yeah. And I
can dig that.
Yeah, because like I remember like even when like, for example, like even with what the shirt I'm wearing, when we first started like thinking and introducing Kizomba, I guess I was promoting the thing that brought us together, just because I wanted to. And when we introduced Kizomba, a lot of people, gave that bad rap. Like, Kizomba is just like whatever. There's nothing special to it, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't. And then it's funny because there are some people who I've talked to who recently have like started changing their mind about Kizomba and even Zouk and everything else that's starting off in the dance community. But yeah, like I just want more people to feel okay. If you want to give something a try, give it a try. Like, who gives a shit what like one of your like close friends says that like they don't like this dance or whatever. Like, but at the same time, the people who are talking shit realize that it is taking an effect on the people around you. Like, maybe it doesn't even have to be a big number of people. Like, if you're affecting one person, that's so
more.
bad.
Well, it's more than
so harmful
than what you need.
Yeah. And so I feel like people like need to be more aware of.
You know what though? Dig myself a hole. That's LA though. Like,
well, no, and that's the thing that like, and that's the reason why I'm doing this podcast in the first place, because that's an excuse. Like, that's not just because we're LA or whatever. Like, it's the same thing for like even like my last talk about talking about consent and like what gets done on the like bachata dance floor. It's like, oh, it's LA bachata. Like this is just the way it is. Like, no, like,
well, it's the way it is because no one chooses to really stand up.
Yeah, like
against it.
Like, yes, it's okay to like understand. Like, yes, this is where we are now, but we are here because no one's doing anything about it. And
True.
And I feel like if enough people do it, like, yeah, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's worth investing time, and everybody like who cares about it should speak up.
Well, unfortunately, that's where it lies with the instructors in the area who, you know, who may say a word or two about, for example, etiquette.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many people enforce it? I mean, how many times did I catch you? I'm like, yo, drop, give me 20. I think you did this one time at PCH Club. You didn't walk your back. I caught you, and I'm like, bro, I told you.
I know.
Rehearsal, like, you're wearing my t-shirt?
Yeah.
You're going to do push-ups if you don't do this. And I think I got you at PCH Club one time doing 20 push-ups.
Yeah, it's so terrible. It's funny, like, even on occasion, I still forget to do that. Well, I mean, I stopped doing it very much, and there's times that I remember, and I think about that, and I'm just like, oh, fuck, like, I should be doing this more often. Especially with somebody who I've never met, and especially, it's probably something that pops in my head more if it's a beginner.
But you know what, though? Even with people that you've known for years, like, it's not an excuse to not
that's true.
follow through, because people watch at the end of the day. And, you know, especially if you've been in the community and someone sees you and they recognize you as someone who's a regular, they're going to emulate everything that you're doing.
That's true.
You know, one of the things we used to talk about during the etiquette class is that men watch, women talk. You know, and that whole analogy of women going into the restroom together and saying, yo, I had this really crappy, shitty dance with this asshole, don't dance with him.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just one of the example of how people communicate within the club scene. Yeah. So having the reverse situation in which you gave a really positive experience, whether it's someone new or someone who's been in the scene for a long time, and they recognize, like, wow, I've been in the scene for this long time, and Nick always walks me on the dance floor. Yeah. He always walks me back. You know, there's pleases, there's thank yous.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, I'm going to dance with him because I don't feel like my crotch is going to be violated in one shape or form, whether it's a knee or you know, oh my God. Carlos Cinta put up a post, and it's crazy because the question was, they told me that they were on the dance floor and a guy bit them. Or licked their ear or something crazy.
I've heard of something.
And you know, to him, at least in the post, it was a big surprise.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that shit's been happening for years.
Longer than we know, really.
Longer than we know, and you know, probably even worse.
Yeah. Prior
to social media being a huge thing in our community, like, we have no idea what actually went down, and some of the horror stories and bad reps that Salcedo's got because of that disrespect. Hence another reason why our instructors really need to push and enforce this concept. And this is not something that I feel is it's learned, but you gotta train it.
Yeah, like it takes time, like just like with anything.
Well, not even so. I mean, yeah, you can start off, like say, you know, the first month going in the scene and you're doing it, but you got to train yourself to do it consistently.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's a time that over the 20 years, I have not walked someone on and off the dance floor to this day. And it's just, I wish more people would
do that.
It would make our community so much better.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, actually, it's funny, I'm surprised that I stopped doing it because, like, I care so much about, like, when I'm dancing with someone, making sure they feel comfortable. And that's the reason why I smile. And I should know that it's that valuable, that everyone knows me for my smile.
Yeah.
And it's because I remember dancing I can't remember, it was like this. It was like around the first year that I first started dancing. And I remember I was like, I was like 17 or something like that. I remember dancing with somebody at an event, and the entire dance, they just, even before, when I asked, to the moment I left them, and like I said, thank you for the dance and bye, stone cold face, like they didn't give a shit about me. They like they regretted, like not even regret, like it made me feel so bad that, like, not even that there's one thing to tell me it was bad, or like, whatever, like they just really didn't give a fuck about me, like, or the dance that they just did.
Now, was it that they didn't give a fuck, or that was just their face and they were just...
Well, they didn't even bother even saying anything. They're like, oh yeah, thank you. Like, they literally like, okay, and they just walked away without saying anything. Like, absolutely no connection whatsoever. Like, not even a hi, like, cool. Like, and to me, and that made me feel terrible, and that's the reason why, like, I started smiling, because I wanted to, at least, because I know I'm having fun. It's contagious, and I wanted to express, like, I would never want to make somebody feel that shitty the way I felt shitty.
Well, and that really goes back into the idea that, for that first class, for example, having people understand that there's more to salsa dancing than just dancing, and there is a psychological approach that if you don't understand that culture or how to approach it, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Going back to that first introduction of, hey, how you doing? My name is, may I?
Yeah.
That first reaction is going to tell you everything about the dance.
That's true.
Down to the handshake. If I go ahead and put my hand out, I know right here, you're either going to give me a lot of pressure, a lot of resistance. Yeah. You're going to give me this weak, carry you around. Maybe that's how I determine on whether or not you're a beginner. Are your hands clammy? Are you, your reaction to me even asking you, your facial expressions, it's all a big read, and then whether or not they go ahead and allow you to take the arm. Yeah. All these little things guiding up to before when the dance starts. One of the things I used to tell students, when you walk into the club for the first time, in that night, your first dance is always the most important. You walk in, you take a lap, survey your area, all right? Look at the people around the perimeter. I used to have this rule that I would always want to have the first dance be my best dance of the night. So that people see you. People know it. If they don't recognize you, they know it's okay, because one, you either look like you know what you're doing, or the person that you finished dancing with had a good time. And then there's little things, little tricks. Who's standing by the fans? They're there to dance.
Oh yeah.
What kind of shoes are they wearing? Not saying that you should judge whether they can or cannot dance, but
I've never worn a pair of dance shoes.
At least in LA, that's usually a big indicator.
That's true.
That rule goes out the door once you get out of LA. Because, like, on the island, there'll be girls in stilettos who normally here would probably break their ankles dancing on cobblestone. Yeah. Like, shit. You didn't see dance shoes out there. Yeah. But at least in our dance community, it was an indicator on what and why are they there. Yeah. Do they have a drink in their hand? Are they at the bar? All these little things are indicators of, okay, who can I kind of go around and what am I looking for? Yeah. And then, so all this is kind of going in as a psychological kind of survey of, okay, now let's go ahead, let's approach a dance floor. Yeah. Boom, you have your amazing dance. And if it's a typical situation, that girl's going to tell her girlfriend. Yeah. Say, hey, you got to dance with this dude. Yeah. In fact, there's even times where they were like, here, let me introduce you to my friend. You need to dance with us. True, that happens, and it really opens that up. So that first dance is really huge. So back to the big circle of why we even started on this is in our community, specifically, understanding that there's a mindset and some actions you need to do that have nothing to do with the actual dance before you even get on the dance floor. And I think this is also not something that's been addressed.
Yeah.
In classes or just in general, like.
Yeah. I feel like, at least, obviously, because there's a lot of things that, like, to point out. I feel like every instructor, if they really care, should, like, sprinkle one of these things, like, or even something that they can, like, they've noticed that works or, like, helps a dancer, like, to stand out or, like, to be more polite or whatever. Like, they should sprinkle it in the middle of every single one of their classes, no matter what they're teaching, because that's probably more important than the move that you're teaching, because it probably, like, like, you know, like you mentioned, like, there's a lot of people who go and take multiple classes every single time and they don't learn dancing.
Well, and it goes a long way, just outside of dance, even just these human interactions. You're learning. Just being a human being.
Yeah, this is important lessons that invest beyond just dancing.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, and so, yeah, I think more people, especially instructors, need to really, like,
it's their job. It's their responsibility.
Yeah. Well, and they should, if they care enough about, like, being an instructor, because that's really what, if they care about their community and the people who are coming to learn from them, then.
And I think this is interesting, seeing a lot of these new instructors come out, and I can't call the kettle black because I was that dancer.
Yeah.
You know,
too early to teach.
I took a couple classes with Phil.
Yeah.
But after that, it was more learning on the fly because it was thrown at me. That didn't mean that I had the right to become an instructor.
Yeah.
I see it, and it hurts because I know everybody has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But now taking a step back and seeing what kind of influence someone has, it really needs to be a very tough decision of, do I really want to do this for the right reason?
Yeah.
You know, it's not a popularity contest because you're affecting a community in the long range, and know your shit. At the end of the day, I've seen newer instructors who are out there teaching stuff who can't even count to what they're teaching.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like 1, 2, 3, and you know they're trying to get through. Or you know, I've seen as of recent lifts and tricks being taught, and they're not being told that this isn't for our social community.
Yeah, this is for performance community.
This is for if you're exactly going to perform, and then also some of these people aren't doing things correctly. So who's going to get hurt? And what scares me, say they're in a newer venue, someone gets hurt. Well, who gets in trouble? The venue. That means that's going to be one less place to go dancing. That means, you know, it's going to affect way more people than just the person who got hurt.
Yeah.
Instructors, do your homework.
Yeah. Okay, for everyone who's, like, listening and watching, and it kind of cut off awkwardly, I'm still learning to do this, and unfortunately it looks like I ran out of audio, and I'm being completely 100% honest. It's okay. They're teaching me things also because they're more experienced with this. But at the very least, I'll have to look back and see what we lost, and I'll see if I can edit or include what we discussed.
Because Nick was talking some shit.
Massive shit. But yeah, so sorry for any of that, and hopefully I'll get some of that back somehow later. But at the very least, I wanted to say thank Peter for being here. And
thank you for having
me. Giving me his time, and at the very least, obviously, I wanted to give you a shout out and for your business that you just started for Araiza Events.
Yes, Araiza Events. So any kind of event planning, DJing, emceeing, dance classes, whatever you want to do, we can create it for you. So very excited. You can go to araizaevents.com, ARAIZA events.com, and look us up.
Yeah. And so and I hope you guys are enjoying this, and I'll find ways to talk more about the things you care about, sharing more, and we'll see you guys on the dance floor.